New San Francisco program backed by podcaster Newsom. I mean, Governor Gavin Newsom will issue speeding tickets based on income. What could go wrong? Is this constitutional? Is everybody going to start claiming that they're homeless? Because if you do, you're going to get 80% off of your really expensive $500 speeding ticket. Yeah, that's literally what's going on here. Let's get into it. Here we go. What a bunch of absolute nonsense, right? It's like, what? Mr. Reynolds, I know you're claiming that you're homeless, but I see here on the tax records that is not true. Nope, I live in a van down by the river. How do we get laws like that? How do we get to a point where people are thinking, you know what? Everybody's just going to be on the honor system. They're just going to tell us if they're homeless or not. And if they look scraggly enough, we're going to just give them a big old, 80% off of their ticket, and we're all going to love it. And kumbaya, Shangri-La. San Francisco is launching a new program backed by Democratic California podcaster, Governor Gavin Newsom, that will issue speeding tickets based on income. Speed Safety System Pilot Program. If you have to have more than a couple of words in the title of your program, it sucks, right? Because I don't want to read that many. The Speed Safety System Pilot Program. It was signed by Newsom in October 23 and allows cities across California to use speeding cameras to find drivers. Those considered lower income are eligible for a steep discount. They receive a speeding ticket. Why? Since when did this become pay to play? Yeah, it's not. Violations for speeding ranging from $50 to $500, but individuals with a household income at or below 200% of the federal poverty level are eligible for a 50% discount. And then we've got indigent people or individuals who are homeless. So individuals who are homeless yet driving around in a car. Okay, all right, I understood. They're eligible for an 80% discount on the speeding ticket. Basically none. Why do they get off almost scot-free? Well, because they have less speeds. All right, so by that standard, what else are we going to do an 80-20 split on? What else are we going to do a 50-50 split on? Yeah, maybe years in prison. If you're homeless, years in prison down the road. Let's watch a quick video here. This is an interesting one. Libs of TikTok. I love a good libs of TikTok. You know what? We're going to go here because this is what we're doing. There we go. All right.
Pay for a speeding ticket depends on who you are, and it's all in the name of equity. On its website, the City Transportation Authority goes out of its way to explain that speed safety cameras will be dispersed across San Francisco in a, quote, equitable fashion. But not everyone will have to pay the same if they get a ticket. Get this. Low-income offenders qualify for steep fine discounts, guys, up to half off. And if you're homeless but speeding in your vehicle, you can get up to 80% discount. Well, Jerry, here's just one of the many problems I have with it. The reason for this program, for the speed cameras, was reportedly because of high injury areas, meaning where pedestrians have been hit and killed. So since all lives are equal, why are we giving discounts on speeding tickets when everyone should understand how serious it is to drive safely where people have died?
I couldn't believe this when I read this. I was like, is this really true? We are all equal in the eyes of the law. Oh, nope, we're not. We're not all equal in the eyes of the law. Okay, so might this get extended eventually? So maybe if I commit a burglary and I don't have a lot of money, maybe that's okay. Or maybe I get a reduced sentence, or I just don't understand the logic operating here. I think we should all be equal in the eyes of the law, and everybody should pay the fine, serve the same sentence.
Yeah. And San Francisco is launching a new speed safety pilot program backed by Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom, where how much you pay for a speeding ticket depends on who you are. And it's all in the name of equity.
The fact that I have to read ridiculous podcast stories like this, I mean, it's funny from the standpoint that these are actual topics that I am covering in my late 50s. I'll be 57 in November. So we're going to go past mid 50s, right? We're going to go to late 50s. We're just going to start late 50s because this is absurd. This is ridiculous. This is nonsensical because it's just going to keep on going. What else are we going to give away for free? What else are we going to give away? And you know what? Homeless people, when they get a speeding ticket, you know what they say? Thank you for the toilet paper. Much appreciated. You know what I mean? Just, they don't care. They run around with felony convictions, felony outstanding warrants, all kinds of crazy stuff. And they could care less because the system kowtows to them, just like what we're seeing here from Gavin Newsom. I mean, this is just the whole DEI didn't earn it. Well, we need to go through each one of those: diversity, equity, and inclusion, and shit can them from all of our governmental entities. Literally just, nope, you're out. Nope, you're out. Nope, you're out. You know what I mean? We just need to clear house. That's not going to happen because this is California and this is Governor Gavin Newsom. But could you imagine him running the country with idiocy like this? The speed safety pilot, I don't even want to say that name. Those considered lower income are eligible for a steep discount if they receive a speeding ticket. So, yeah, we did the $500 or $50 to $500, below 200%, 50% discount. Homeless people who don't give a shit either way, 80% discount on the speeding ticket. But, you know, all of this stuff is so misguided because they're assuming people are actually going to pay it. They literally think, Democrats actually think somebody's going to pay their speeding ticket if they're homeless. They don't care. They don't even have a driver's license. They don't have insurance. They don't have anything. And they're driving around and you giving them a ticket. Oh, yeah, they're going to pay. Guaranteed they're going to pay. No, they're not. They're going to spend it on their next dozen hits of fentanyl. San Francisco officials launched the program on March 20th with a total of 33 speeding cameras around the city, but only around half of them are operational. But we don't want to go in too hot and heavy on this program. We and put up $1 million a camera, $1 million a camera. We got 33 million in cameras, but only half of them work. It's because what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is equitable. This is, this is very inclusive. It's very inclusive. Very, very inclusive because not all speeding cameras are alike. Some are, more. What a bunch of nonsense. Just absolute nonsense. For the first 60 days of the pilot program, the cameras will only be used to send warnings to speeding drivers. Got to ease them into it. This is just a revenue source, isn't it? All right, we can mount one of these cameras up here and a bunch of people will pay the speeding bills. Homeless people won't. They'll just write in, homeless, don't care. They won't even do that, will they? They will not respond. Hey, I see you got a bunch of speeding tickets, racked up, and parking tickets. You going to pay those anytime soon? No? Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and let you out on your own personal recognizance because that's what we're doing here in LA, right? Now, they'll issue fines after violations start when an individual drives their car more than 11 miles an hour over the speed limit. This is a revenue source. Let's not think it's anything other. Did I say LA earlier? I meant San Francisco, but it's backed by Newsom and LA, right? Speed cameras were placed in areas that are high injury, where 12% of the streets within San Francisco count for 68% of severe injuries or fatalities that are traffic related. Now, here's one area I was reading the stats. I think it was on the San Francisco homeless population. Yeah, the number one cause of death for both men and women that are homeless is fentanyl. 70% of the deaths are fentanyl related, something along those lines. Number two for the men was heart issues, heart disease, heart failure. Number two for the women was being hit by a car. It was being run over. It was literally being a pedestrian in a motorized situation. So I found that interesting. And that not because women were behind the wheel. You can't have any of that sexist comments in there. But they're getting hit on a much greater scale, a much greater level than the male homelessness are. I wonder what's behind that. Why is that? Let me know your genius thoughts on why homeless females are being taken out in traffic-related accidents at a much greater level than male. One of those things, right? So the program is intended to benefit all communities and not single out any particular neighborhood, the fact sheet states. Oh, yeah. Here we go. A fact sheet, the sentence prior. A fact sheet for the pilot program states that speeding cameras were placed across the city in, you got it, an equitable fashion. What in the F does that mean? Seriously. You place the cameras in an equitable fashion. Now, when this is something you don't want in your communities because you're going to get a bunch of tickets, does that mean more is less or less is more? Fewer cameras in the lower socioeconomic neighborhoods? Is that what we're saying? Or did you actually mean equitable because that's when you're taking from those who don't have much, from those who have a lot and giving it to others, right? So did you give them more cameras? Did you just load up the cameras in the Tenderloin? Do we have a lot more cameras than I don't know. Program is intended to benefit all communities, not single out, yada, yada. San Francisco isn't the only city planning to roll out the pilot program. LA Department of Transportation will roll out a similar program in 2026 that targets speeding drivers, but has an option for low-income individuals to perform community service instead of paying fines. What? How do you prove that you're on low income? How do you prove you're homeless? And why are we doing this? This makes no sense to me. Everybody, if you're speeding and you're caught doing traffic violation, your punishment should be the same as anybody else. The rest of this nonsense, all it's doing is encouraging people to not work and to be homeless. That's what it's doing. And that's how you get in California, a third to a half, depending on what stats you leave, of the homelessness in all of the land, in all of the United States. This is why California, hey, even if you get a speeding ticket in LA, if you say you're homeless, oh man, world's your oyster. They're not going to bust you. They're not going to send you your ticket in the mail. They're going to cut it down by 80%, and then you'd have to pay it anyway because, you're just not going to. You're not going to pay any of those ridiculous fines. Any of that stuff. You're just not going to pay it. You're going to, homeless. Fox News Digital reached out to Newsom's office and San Francisco Municipal, the MTA, for comment. Didn't hear back. We didn't hear back. Yeah. Got a lot going on. Lot of stuff going on, right? A lot of stuff going on. Here's one that I'm not going to... This is kind of a part two. Transportation Secretary rides New York City subway. We're shifting gears to New York City now. Calls conditions unsafe as federal funding hangs in the balance. This is an interesting one. Transportation Secretary got on the train with Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. And he basically called out the subway as being unsafe. Just said, hey, this is not safe. This is a no-go. Riding the subway, not a good idea. And he compared it to a homeless environment. I mean, he referred to it as a shithole and said the subway is not safe and likened it to a homeless shelter. He argued that until conditions improve, federal government will not commit additional funds to the MTA, Transit Authority. Duffy and the Trump administration opposed New York's current congestion pricing plan. He said it's unfair to charge New Yorkers to use roads their tax dollars have already paid for, especially when the subway system is not a safe or reliable alternative. Oh, so great. It's so funny. They're going to charge people who drive on roads. They need to offer a better, safer subway system. And it doesn't seem like, the number of folks that are thrown into the equation on this issue, which is, hey, subways are unsafe in New York City. Hey, streets are unsafe in LA. Homeless are everywhere in LA. We don't seem to worry about any of that, right? We just kind of go with it and see what goes on. But then when conditions are really unsafe and somebody calls it out and says federal funding, all of a sudden people are like, oh, okay. All right. We get it. All right. Yep. We understand. Dollars are at play here. Dollars are at stake. Federal funding hangs in the balance. What if we did some federal funding hanging in the balance for Los Angeles with that whole ridiculous mess, right? I mean, and that's part of what is going on. You've got homelessness in California. You've got judges in LA County basically saying, we don't know where any of this money is going. What are you people doing? Where is all the money going to the subway system in New York City? You've got police officers in droves. There's supposed to be 2 per car during their commute times. You've got New York City National Guard in droves. The governor has said, well, we need some more safety, factors, things that will increase the public safety component of riding in the subway in New York City, and nothing seems to be working. You've just got one criminal complaint after another. And, look at that story. Look at that story. You've got just a ton of this going on, just like you do in the homeless thing in LA, and nothing seems to get better. But hey, let's just dump some more money on it. Should be fine. Should be all good. And then let's not really create, in the Los Angeles issue, let's not really create a system that's based on fairness, which is you get a ticket. Everybody's got to pay the same, because that's the whole point, is that it's painful to get a ticket. And if you can't afford to pay that ticket, you should have been thinking about that when you're doing 90 miles an hour in a 70, right? But no, you get off because you're homeless and you're a further drag on society. Make that make sense. It doesn't. It never will. So this whole thing, you've got a bunch of big blue states. You got one that's super urban. You got New York City. You got San Francisco. It tries to be, it's herky-jerky best. But you've got policy in both cities that you're just left with, what are we doing here? Yeah. And the way I look at it is podcasts for days, because you've got stuff coming out of both of these cities. You got stuff coming out of Seattle. You got stuff coming out of, people want me to add Tacoma to this list. Portland, Seattle, LA, San Francisco, Tacoma, New York City. Let's throw Tacoma in there, because, who doesn't love a good Tacoma story every now and then? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.